5 to day 2 is where we're at. As I mentioned in day 1, skill-wise, nothing new, right? Some lessons are like that, where there's a little bit of a difference in terms of what we're doing over the 2 days. Verifying trig identities can be a little bit tricky, okay? So this is one of those lessons where nothing new, just more examples, okay? It takes time, it takes practice to get the hang of this. All right, as we dive into this one, remember a couple things, 3 things actually. We check the factor, okay? We add or subtract, not just fractions, but add or subtract terms if we can. And then we apply identities at a point that we think it's appropriate. Those are kind of the 3 things that we look at. Now, these aren't as fractions, but I've got 2 terms that I would like to try to add together into one, okay? I think that that's going to be the best approach to take. If I see that where one side is addition and the other side is multiplication, I'm going to want to start with the addition side and feel like, can I do something with those terms so that I can add them together? All right? Now this actually is one that has a really, really common mistake where you might look at tangent and cotangent and apply a reciprocal identity and put it as like 1 over cotangent and 1 over tangent for the 2. And you'd see that it kind of goes nowhere, okay? That happens, right? That's another thing that you have to be okay with, is you may try something when you're simplifying these or verifying these identities, and it may not work. That's kind of the difficulty with them. Sometimes it's not like you could have a concrete set of steps. Like I've given you 3 things that are good to try and typically will work, but you can't always see exactly where you're going. What you actually want to do here is to take tangent, that's sine over cosine, and cotangent is cosine over sine. And that is a qi times 2. 2 quotient identities. Okay, now this is a good situation for us because we've now got it as fractions, and you might look at those and be like, well, that's wonderful, except they don't have a common denominator, which would be true, so let's get one. And you're always pretty much good to go if you use the trick that if you take the 2 denominators that you have and you just multiply them together, that's the denominator you're going to want. Okay? So now focus on our first term that was originally tangent. We switched it to sine over cosine. That fraction got multiplied by sine of x on the bottom. I need to do the same to the top, and it will become sine squared. The second term on the bottom had a sine, got multiplied by a cosine, and the top becomes cosine squared. Okay? Every time I do that, what I want is to then combine the 2 terms by adding them, and the top, which I've already noticed led to squared trig functions, which automatically makes me think, I bet you at some point I'm going to use a Pythagorean identity. Okay? Anytime you get squared trig functions, that's probably what's going to happen. And that's exactly what's going on here. The numerator I'll substitute 1 and make a note at that step that I used a Pythagorean identity. And then I'm going to do a little reciprocal identity times 2. 1 over cosine, I could flip that to secant. 1 over sine is cosecant. That's a reciprocal identity times 2. And if we check the right side, that's exactly what we were supposed to get to. All right, this is a little bit of a different example. Okay, this one you should label. We haven't seen this yet. Okay. Every single identity that we have verified, and I think we've done like, I don't know, if we go back to 5.1 and include those, we've done like 7 in the notes. You work on one side, usually the more complicated side, the side that you could factor, the side where you could add or subtract some terms. This one is really hard to tell, all right? So this one has a bit of a different approach. I'm going to split it up right down the middle because this is our first look at what we call a two-sided identity, all right? I'm going to start on the left side. And as I'm doing this, what I'm thinking of is, can I get as far as I can? Okay, I'm not expecting to get to the right side. 1 minus sine divided by sine. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay? On the top here, I can do cosecant squared minus 1. That's from a Pythagorean identity. And on the bottom, I still have 1 plus cosecant. Okay? On the top, I can factor. Remember, I'm always thinking about if there's cases I can factor, I usually want to. So the bottom is still just going to be 1 plus cosecant theta. And the top can be factored to cosecant theta plus 1 and cosecant theta minus 1, which those two, the cosecant plus 1, and we get to there. Cosecant of theta minus 1. Okay? Can't be factored. There is really no identity that we could apply that would simplify it in any way. And, I don't have any fractions that I could add or subtract. Okay? I could try to, like, get a common denominator with the two terms that I have, but it's not going to look more simplified than it is now. Okay? Kind of feels like we hit a dead end. Right? We started simplifying the left, and we didn't get to the right side, which is actually okay. I'm going to switch the color here just to keep track of it. I'm now switching over here and saying with a completely different set of steps, let's go work with the right side. It's kind of like I'm starting over. Sort of. Okay? What I can do here is kind of like the opposite of subtracting fractions. I'm kind of taking this 1 that has a common denominator of sine theta, and then I'm taking the two terms on the top, and I'm splitting it up. Okay? I'm splitting it up. Now the reason I do that is I have 1 over sine theta, and then sine theta over sine theta is 1, and perhaps at this point you can start to pick up on what my plan is. Okay, as I'm simplifying the right side, I have no intentions of getting the left side. Okay, none. Instead, I'm just going to apply a reciprocal identity. 1 over sine is cosecant. I'll cite that step right there that I used a reciprocal identity. And can you see at this point why we're done? Okay. When I started the left side, I never got to the right side. When I started the right, I never got to the left. However, at this point, we have verified the identity because we have shown the left side can be simplified to cosecant minus 1. So can the right. Okay? They both equal the same thing, cosecant theta minus 1, which is sufficient to say that the two expressions that we started with, the left side and the right side, they do equal each other. Okay? That's one to make special note of. Those are tricky cases. You know, if you have questions on the homework, I'll certainly give you a heads up on a test or a quiz. That's not as likely that I would expect you could figure out if it's a two-sided case on your own, but definitely one to look over because those are a little bit different. 6, I'm going to skip over. Basically, this one uses a new concept that we'd have to add to our list, which is to multiply by a conjugate. It's a case that doesn't come up very much. The reason I want to skip over it is if you were to look at this, I would expect that you guys would say, let's look at that left side and see if we can somehow rewrite secant and tangent and then add them together, which for this one is the completely wrong approach to take. So it kind of violates one of our rules, and the whole conjugate thing we're not going to do. The book has a solution. That's great, but let's skip over example 6. And we'll just go to 7. Okay, and this will be our last one. This is not a two-sided. Okay, so I'm going to start over here with cosecant to the 4th, right? These can get a little bit interesting. I want to show you one where, you know, we haven't seen it before, where you've got an exponent that's a higher power than 2. Right? We haven't talked about that a lot because I've said if you see a squared trig function, think Pythagorean identities. What if we see some powers that go beyond that? We would typically take the approach, because we like squared terms, take that cosecant to the 4th and split it up as cosecant squared times cosecant squared. Okay? Now I get those squared terms that I like. I'm going to leave one of them. And then the second one right here, because I switched it so I had a Pythagorean identity of a squared term. Okay, and I substituted for one of them, not both of them. Okay? Nothing I can really do with the cosecant squared out front. I can distribute the cotangent. And as I look up to the right side, remember that's kind of what I'm trying to get to. Once I had that cosecant squared out front, I don't really want to do anything with it because I just want it to stay there. But then if I distribute the cotangent, I would get cotangent of x, and then cotangent cubed, and there we go. It certainly doesn't look simplified, right? But remember, when you're verifying, that may not actually be the case. You just start with one side, and you basically play with the terms and rearrange stuff until you get to the other side, which is what I've done here.